When we think of the Titanic, we picture tragedy, an unsinkable ship swallowed by the Atlantic, taking over 1,500 lives. But what if the real story goes beyond the ice and the ocean? What if the Titanic sinking triggered not just human loss, but an economic shockwave that hit boardrooms, banks, shipping empires, and entire industries? Built at a cost of over $7,500,000 zero cents in 1912, the Titanic wasn't just a ship. It was a floating investment, a symbol of wealth, innovation, and global trade. Its destruction led to massive financial losses for the White Star Line and its investors, including the powerful financier JP Morgan. Major industries like shipbuilding and insurance were forced to rethink everything. Wealthy businessmen on board, like John Jacob Astor IV and Benjamin Guggenheim, represented fortunes that shaped American commerce. Their deaths triggered corporate chaos and shifted the future of their empires. Lawsuits, tighter regulations, and higher insurance premiums followed, changing the way maritime business was done forever. This wasn't just a maritime disaster, it was an economic earthquake, and its aftershocks are still felt today. In laws, industries, and the billion-dollar legacy Titanic continues to generate. When the Titanic sank on April 15, 1912, it wasn't just a maritime tragedy, it was a financial catastrophe. The ship cost over $7,500,000 zero cents to build, equivalent to $200 zero cents plus million today, yet was insured for only about $5 million zero cents. The gap between investment and insurance meant millions in direct losses for the White Star Line and its parent company, International Mercantile Marine (IMM), led by financier JP Morgan. Additionally, cargo on board, including automobiles, luxury goods, and mail, was either uninsured or underinsured, compounding the losses for businesses and individuals alike. The wreckage also destroyed countless personal possessions of wealthy passengers. In the days following the disaster, financial markets saw brief turbulence as investor confidence shook. Though the White Star Line received some compensation, the overall economic hit was far reaching. The true cost wasn't just in steel and wood, it was in shaken investor confidence, ruined goods, and unrecoverable capital. For the White Star Line, Titanic was meant to symbolize a new age of luxury sea travel. Instead, it became the beginning of the end. The company suffered a major blow in public trust after its claims of unsinkable safety were proven tragically wrong. Passenger bookings declined dramatically, and the company's brand suffered irreparable damage. Despite receiving partial insurance compensation, White Star struggled to regain its footing. Mounting financial pressures, legal expenses from lawsuits, and costly public inquiries drained resources. Its parent company, IAMM, also suffered reputational damage and financial instability, eventually leading to the 1934 merger of White Star with its chief rival, Cunard Line. The Titanic disaster, therefore, accelerated White Star's decline in the competitive shipping industry. The event not only weakened one company, it helped reshape the hierarchy of global maritime transport. What was meant to be the pinnacle of the company's success became a haunting symbol of financial collapse and overreach. Among the Titanic's passengers were some of the richest men in the world, men whose deaths had deep economic consequences. John Jacob Astor IV, the wealthiest man aboard, was worth over $87 million, zero cents. His sudden death affected numerous business ventures, inheritance plans, and real estate changes, and a void in business strategy followed. Beyond the ultra wealthy, countless mid level professionals, investors, and entrepreneurs were lost. People who were actively contributing to the global economy. The Titanic didn't just take lives, it erased future investments, ideas, and leadership in one tragic night. After the Titanic sank, a legal and insurance storm followed. In the US, more than 80 lawsuits were filed against the White Star Line, but the company cleverly used outdated maritime laws to limit liability. Under an 1851 US statute, they were responsible only for the value of surviving assets, totaling just $91,000, zero cents, a pittance compared to the scale of the disaster. This sparked public outrage and led to eventual reforms in maritime law. On the insurance side, the Titanic became a case study. Many insurers faced massive claims and had to revise their policies. Premiums across the shipping industry skyrocketed, especially for passenger liners. Underwriters introduced stricter safety requirements for coverage, and companies faced greater scrutiny. The disaster also exposed gaps in risk assessment. Insurance firms had underestimated both the dangers of transatlantic travel and the value of cargo and lives on board. Titanic reshaped how maritime risks were calculated, insured, and litigated. What had been viewed as a technical and glamorous industry was now seen as a high risk venture requiring legal and regulatory overhauls. The Titanic's sinking triggered sweeping changes in the maritime industry. One of the most immediate was the formation of the International Ice Patrol, tasked with monitoring iceberg threats in the North Atlantic. Governments demanded tighter safety regulations. Ships were now required to carry enough lifeboats for all passengers, maintain 24-hour radio communication, and hold regular emergency drills. These safety upgrades increase operational costs for shipping companies. Insurance companies, having suffered heavy losses, adjusted their risk models and premium rates, raising the cost of doing business. Moreover, passenger trust had been deeply shaken. People now questioned the safety of transatlantic travel, leading to short-term declines in bookings and revenue. For shipbuilders and maritime engineers, Titanic marked the end of an era of unchecked ambition. Emphasis shifted from speed and luxury to safety and regulation. These reforms redefined the economics of the shipping industry, forcing companies to adopt new standards or risk being left behind. The legacy of Titanic wasn't just emotional or historical, it permanently reshaped global maritime economics. While the Titanic was a financial disaster in 1912, it has since become a billion-dollar industry in its own right. Books, documentaries, museums, exhibitions, and especially James Cameron's 1997 film Titanic turned tragedy into cultural gold. The movie alone grossed over $2,200,000,000 0 cents worldwide, making it one of the highest grossing films of all time. Titanic themed tourism thrives, with artifacts displayed in museums and dive expeditions offered to explore the wreck. Entire industries have formed around Titanic's memory. Publishing, education, merchandise, and even virtual simulations. Ironically, the very ship that symbolized loss and failure became one of the most commercially successful historical events in modern media. While the original investors lost millions, the world gained a tragic legend that continues to generate economic activity over a century later. Titanic's economic story didn't end in 1912. It evolved, profited, and became part of a global narrative where history, business, and culture intersect. The sinking of the Titanic was far more than a maritime disaster. It was an economic earthquake that shook industries, laws, and societies around the world. It wasn't just the loss of a ship, but the collapse of financial dreams, the exposure of systemic vulnerabilities, and the catalyst for sweeping changes in global insurance and shipping practices. More than a century later, the Titanic has transformed from a symbol of loss into a lasting commercial legacy. Movies, museums, books, and tourism keep the story alive, generating billions in revenue worldwide. Ultimately, the Titanic story is a powerful reminder of the cost of human pride, economic ambition, and nature's unforgiving force. It was a disaster whose impact went well beyond the depths of the Atlantic, reshaping economies, inspiring reform, and etching itself into the collective memory of the world forever. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with our upcoming videos. Thank you.